Boy is back. Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector. That's right, Long Island change makers, where I get to hang out with friends of mine or future friends. This particular guest happens to be a friend of mine, but sometimes it's future friends and colleagues who are doing great work here on the island, Strong Island, my island, where I hail from. I don't think I've left this place for more than like 7 days in a row, like in my whole life. I stayed home for school and was a bartender, and you don't want all the, maybe you do want all the stories, I don't know. But you know, worked at my uncle's bar, went to Nassau College, went to Brook for a little while, and then finished out here at SUNY Old Westbury. So Strong Island representing Long Island change makers. Greg Lavine McBride, what's going on, bud? So happy you're here. Thank you for, I said what's going on, and then I just keep continuing. This is, but you know, if you're part of the show and the Tommy D show, you know, I just continue to talk and talk and talk. So listen, this is about you today though, man. We know each other, we've done some business together. We've made some great connections for each other. Some of them, Linda Beagle-Schulman always comes to mind, because I think that was one of the first times you and I sort of like professionalized our relationship, where you had reached out to me and another colleague had reached out, and you said, this is way before I knew Linda from the Scott J. Beagle Memorial Fund, and you said, I think you need to get Linda on Philanthropy in Focus. And since then, definitely, she's been on the show twice. She sat in that seat right there here on Long Island Changemakers, because she is just certainly one of those people who's on the front lines doing the great work. And it's those connections and relationships that I wouldn't have having not known you. And you invited me to a political thing recently, which is you know, interesting for me to be in the room, because I happened to be in that same room where you invited me a week earlier, and it was the Long Island Imagine Awards, and I owned the room. And then I was in a room, a little bit of fish out of water in a political thing. I mean, I didn't have pink on. I got dressed for you. I hadn't worn a necktie, Greg Lavine, in a while, man.
You look great.
I thank you. I appreciate it. And so I appreciate you looking out for me and making those connections. But I want to get to your story, and we'll get to the work you're doing with McBride. But I don't know how. Last time I think you told me your story, we were in a coffee shop in Glen Cove. That spot, is it Southdown or something like that?
Coffee.
Southdown Coffee. Yeah, I like that place.
Glen Street, Glen Cove.
Yes, shout out to Glen Street, shout out to Glen Cove, North Shore, the whole thing. We got some connections at Glen Cove, right? You and me?
For sure.
So let's get into it, man. Tell me about you. Right. Tell me your story.
Well, thank you for having me on the show. I think you know how much I value, obviously, our business relationship, but more importantly, our friendship, because you are a change maker.
Oh, thanks, man.
In so many ways. As I always say to you, I don't know how you do it.
You said it right before we started.
I'm convinced. I'm convinced. I don't know if I'm talking. I don't know which time.
All right, so let me tell you. Let me tell you a story.
Please.
So thank you for the gratitude. But my wife loves this movie called Multiplicity.
Yes.
With Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Right. The copy of a copy is never as good as the original, right? So there's like 4. Like number 4 was a little extra. I had some extra challenges in that movie. You know.
Sure.
So there is only one, because I promise you, the earth would fall off its axis if there was more than one. It would be too much. It would be too much, man. But I appreciate that. I try to do the best I can in what I do, man.
In all sincerity, and we'll pivot to talking about myself.
Yeah.
But in all sincerity, there are a handful of people that I know, have worked with, have friendly with, and a handful that are what I call super connectors.
Oh, thanks, man.
And you are a super connector.
Thanks.
It's a natural space.
Yeah.
I like to be a connector, but I learn from the best. So,
thank you.
As you said, my name is Greg Lavine. I'm a Vice President of Government Affairs at McBride Consulting, and I'll talk about McBride in a little bit. But my work and career has been really in government and politics my whole life. Sometimes I think that's maybe the only thing I know.
Why though? How?
So I think it developed just from an early age, just of an interest in school and social studies. Was my
back in to grade school.
Let me tell you a quick story.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a quick story. 1980. It's 1988. I'm in 5th grade.
Okay.
I had a wonderful 5th grade teacher. Shout out to the Glen Cove Public Schools at the Gribbon School, named Miss Rita Gibbons.
Okay.
That's me and Rita Gibbons, and we're having a debate. Who's going to win? Who's going to be the president of the United States? I was back in the
88.
In 88.
Okay.
So this is the fall of 88.
Mm-hmm. And you're in 5th grade.
I'm in 5th.
So that's like 11.
Yeah, I'm in 5th grade.
Yeah.
So I don't know that the rest of the kids maybe knew there was an election. So we're having a debate, and we make, from what I'm hearing, and obviously from my home, Dukakis is going to win, Dukakis is going to win. And truthfully, to really get a little nerdy, the early polls did have him up pretty big. But as the fall came, that wasn't the case. Boy, after that election, when I had to come back in and
you should have just dropped out of school.
Said, I thought I had to transfer. I didn't know. Anyway, just a little kind of side.
You were into it though, but were you the only kid into it?
Probably, maybe. But anyway, so grew up in Glen Cove. I went to Glen Cove High School, graduated in 1995. Went to the University of Delaware, 1995 to 1999.
Okay.
Kind of sort of timid, docile years in politics in the mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
Got involved there on campus with some things with college Democrats.
But you knew, you found.
I was a history major and a poli-sci minor.
Yeah.
Although I thought I was an English minor. When I went to declare, they told me I didn't take the prerequisite.
Oh, wow.
That's a different college story.
Sure.
To get into, maybe off camera. Anyway, so did history, did poli-sci, just kind of like what I like, what comes naturally. Had a great time, met a lot of great people, led to an internship my senior year at the University of Delaware in the Wilmington, Delaware office of then U.S. Senator Joe Biden.
Wow.
What
year? That's like 90.
This is the spring of '99.
Okay.
Spring of '99. That opened the world for me.
I'm sure.
My intention right after college was, I've got this great internship with a senator. I'm sure I could get a job on Capitol Hill. Doesn't work that way.
No.
Sent out, those days you actually had to send out, you remember you had to send out actual paper applications.
I'm going to tell you something. I'm driving here a little while ago, and I'm listening to Bloomberg 11:30, right? And they said you can send, they were trying to advertise a job. They said you can email whatever this person's name was, it was a woman's name, or mail it. And I go, mail? Mail it. 2025, man.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you talking about? But
yes.
yes.
You mail it, they'll fill the job.
Of course they will. The person with the email, I think, is going to get the leg up on that one. But you were sending out paper resumes.
Sending out resumes, trying to get a Hill job in D.C. And that internship, what I later realized from that internship, was the folks of that internship who I'm still deeply connected to.
All these years later,
as friends, as business colleagues, were really cultivated their interns to be on a path, and they helped you. So I was given the opportunity to work on the race for governor in the state of Delaware. Remember, a Long Island kid, went to college there.
Where are you living at the time?
I'm living in Newark, Delaware.
But you graduated now?
I graduated.
And you stuck around?
I graduated, stayed, worked on the campaign for then the lieutenant governor, who worked on her campaign. I was her first campaign staffer. Back in those days, you did a little bit of everything.
Yeah, what's that look like? Because I don't think young people, old people, anybody really knows unless you've been involved.
It's the way I kind of look at political campaigns and working on them, especially as a young person out of college. It's almost like, by no means equatable, but it's almost like political boot camp.
Okay.
Right? Like it is where you learn. You're out of the academic space, and you're learning on the go. I was the first staffer on that campaign, so I was literally at Dunkin' Donuts getting the donuts for the volunteers, but also sitting with the candidate while she was, and helping her organize her donor calls, things like that.
Yeah.
Driving to different events. So
how old are you then? 22, 20, something?
I had probably 22.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had hair.
Yeah. Is that a typical role though? Like, is somebody at that level being so close to the candidate?
Yes and no. Maybe these days it's a little bit different. But yes and no. And I just was able to grow from it. So worked in the campaign. We won.
Did she win?
She did win. She was elected the first female governor of the state of Delaware.
That's really cool, man.
It was a big deal. Worked for her. Worked in her office, in the governor's office, for a few years.
Wow.
Transitioned over to the state legislature in Dover, the capital.
When you do those things, I'm curious, because I've been up to Albany and stuff like that. Like, who do you work for? Like, in her case, you worked for the state, but then if she's out, then you gotta get another gig. I'm always curious about that.
Good question. Generally, when you're working in government, there are at-will jobs that are considered political jobs, but jobs that are appointed through those elected officials. That was the space I was in. And of course, then there's for all municipalities, there's jobs that are union jobs, and those are those don't depend on obviously who's elected. So yeah, I worked in an appointed space. Went to work for the state legislature. for 2 state senators, and got to know a lot of people. It's a little state. Got to know a lot of people there, folks who I still have great relationships with. And it's sort of a second state to me. I'll be there for this summer for a vacation in Rehoboth.
Is it? We used to go to Rehoboth and Dewey and stuff like that, so I know that area. So in that case, though, just to go back, so the legislature, when you're working for them, this is not, I'm not trying to be funny here, but like, who signs your paycheck? Is it the state of Delaware? Is it?
It is. So you're working for the state in a smaller state. When I was there, I was one staffer for 2 state senators.
Okay.
Big difference here in New York, where state senators and
they must have multiple, one person, multiple staffers.
Districts are so much bigger.
Got it.
We're talking about a state of, huge state versus state of basically 1 million people.
Is it 1 million people? Is that what it's like?
It's just about 1 million. When I was there, it was a bit less. Yeah, they had one congressional district.
How many people do we have on Long Island?
You have there's close to, I think there's over 3. There's close to probably 4 million people in Long Island
so
now.
just
The
for comparison,
has grown tremendously. So worked there. Came back to New York to do political campaigns. Did a couple of political campaigns on Long Island, and decided it had something in the back of my head that for a while that had said, kind of want to break out and maybe see another space in the same kind of world. And I ended up doing some international work. So I worked for an NGO, a nonprofit.
Okay, sure.
Got to travel with them to East Africa.
Wow.
I was in.
I did not know these stories. That's great. How long were you there?
I was there for 2 months volunteering with a school and with an AIDS outreach organization.
Wow.
Went to work for that nonprofit after helping prepare volunteers to go abroad. This was a organization that was, like the New York Times said, akin to a mini stint in the Peace Corps. Very mini.
Wow. But you go over there. I mean, this is many years ago?
This is 2004.
Okay. It's 21 years ago. So I know folks who go to Africa now, and in order to travel, you have to take a lot of shots and vaccines, and it's, because of all the diseases that we're not really, I guess, prepared for living here in the States. Was it like that back then too?
Sure. You got malaria prep. I think that was mainly probably the main thing, and learned a little bit of a language. In Swahili, which I barely remember any of.
Sure. But what an experience too. You get, see, because you can go back to that memory.
Yes.
And the people, right? I bet that's a big part of what it was.
The people, and still connected to a lot of folks there.
Are you really?
One day I will go back.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, man.
Went to work for the NGO. Did some traveling with them to Brazil, Costa Rica, Guatemala. And pursued some higher ed or graduate degree at the New School. So attended there. And then towards the end of that experience, the campaign started calling me back. I had moved to Queens. I was on Long Island, had moved to Queens. I'd actually been in Manhattan, moved to Queens, and I got involved with some elected officials in Queens, where I worked managed a New York City Council race, and then went to work in the New York City Council as a chief of staff.
Okay.
And after that, went to work for Congresswoman Grace Meng. She was an assembly member at the time, and did her campaign for first campaign for Congress, and then got to work in her office running her district operation. So
that's kind of, I'm beginning to piece together some of this. That's kind of how it works. You run somebody's campaign, and then it's the expectation is that you.
Sometimes there are folks in this business that are strictly campaign folks.
That's what they do.
Strictly government folks, and there's folks who kind of hang in the middle. I happen to be one of those folks.
So you could have helped Ms. Meng win the election and then go, okay, I'm on to my next gig.
Sure, there's a lot of folks that do that and are just campaign, and that's definitely a world and a space of its own.
I'm sure, yeah.
I got a deep interest in government and in serving, so was always able to kind of transition that. During my work in the international space, I also spent some time at the UN. Which gave me a foundation and an interesting experience. All along the way, though, what I have found is that connections and building relationships, real relationships, not transactional, but real relationships, both sustain you personally and they help you in your career, in your business. And it's not for the sake of just connecting to connect. It's just a human aspect, and some folks really dig that. And you and I share that.
Yeah, for sure. I think I've asked you this in the past, and I don't remember the answer. How often does either never or often the bug hit you about maybe I should be the guy, you know, like is that, and if we, as if there's a thing where we can always put the ego aside, which is not exactly a human thing. I think it's tough to do that, but is that, do you always, there's a guy I knew for a long time, he goes, Tommy, I'm not trying to be the king, I'm a king maker. And he would like to be the guy behind the scenes, although he seemed like he was a pretty big ego guy, the guy who told me this, but I always found it funny. So what does that look like for you?
So, fast forward to where we are today, because that's the best way for me to answer the question here in June of 2025. I got a 9-year-old, I got a 5-year-old. I have an incredible career with McBride Consulting, which I did. Well,
we'll talk about it, I promise.
And I serve on boards. I'm on the Red Cross board here in Long Island. Board in Queens, a cemetery board in Queens, involved with.
Which one's the cemetery?
The Maple Grove Cemetery.
I know,
Queens,
who's the guy, Carl
Blinas.
Carl Blinas. I know him through the Queen's Chamber. We actually, there's a funny story, real quick one I'll try to tell, or I'll try to make it fast. We're at the cemetery and I'm doing the Tommy D thing and they asked me to speak and whatever. And I'm in front of the room and I have a couple one-liners. I'm like, Carl, please, I got to get out of here before darkness hits. I can't be in the cemetery. That place, all kidding aside, and I am a little spooked being in the cemetery. I don't really go to cemeteries. It is beautiful.
It's incredible.
Beautiful.
Incredible.
And they have, we were in this room, I'm sure you know the room that overlooks the community. Oh my God.
I'll be there in a few weeks for the 150th.
It's beautiful.
Join, come.
I should probably come there because it will help me get over my fear. As long as you get me out of there before they lock the gates. Dude, you know what? A couple things that scare me. Going to prison for something I didn't do, right? And getting stuck in the cemetery overnight. Those are the two. Other than that, there's one or two other things. But so we didn't even get to the punchline. You're on these boards. Do you ever see yourself running for something?
Today, no.
Did you ever want to? Did you think that would happen?
That has been something I have thought about and considered, but it is not my burning desire. It would only be if I thought I could serve in a better
See, but that's awesome. That to me, when Rebecca Sanin sat there, we talked about becoming an elected official, not a politician, and she corrected me, not in a negative way, but as a friend, corrected me and just said, Tommy, we're elected officials. And that's a thing, and what I heard from you and when Rebecca was here, that's servant leadership. That's not saying I need to do this because it's going to fill some bucket list or whatever, right? But if I can add value, then we go after it.
It has to be the right thing, and Rebecca Sanin's a perfect example of that. So worked in the government space, community space, political space for a long time. Left that space in 2015, 2016. Went out on my own on the other side, the private end, which is the lobbying side, the consulting side. Spent a few years just on my own. Had some interesting clients, both political and healthcare space, and then was able to join a firm where I was a New York City-based firm for 5 years, and then 2 years ago, about now, really I look at it as a privilege and the honor to join McBride Consulting.
It's 2 years already.
It's 2 years in May, and to join McBride Consulting, which is a really special, objectively speaking, I know I've got my, objectively speaking, a really interesting special
Why?
place.
What's the story there?
It is a fusion between government relations and business development. There's the ability and creativity aspect is really like no other place that I've been. We've got a great leadership team, starting with Robert McBride, who's the founder and CEO. Really comes from an entrepreneurial space, and then a government relations space, and is able to blend those two things. It's a deeply familial place, and it's just enhanced where I've been able to be in my career. I do, we do really 5 key things there. We do lobbying and government relations, based local level, all the way up to federal level. We do communications work, do a lot of grant writing and grant work, which is really impactful and talk about making change.
Yeah.
We do registration work for minority and women-owned businesses, which is key to helping level the playing field. And then we do a lot of relationship building, just business-to-business relationship building. And I'm grateful to be able to be there.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. And I haven't yet met Robert, but have certainly met a couple of your team members. And just even in some collaborations I've had, I had Kim Kay's been on. She's come on Philanthropy and Focus. I mean, I'm a huge fan of what she's doing in the world, and she's and I know you know, just recently on a meeting you were saying like how, you know, she's such an asset to the team.
She's tremendous.
And I had her on that meeting with a couple of my not clients, but one organization where I sit on the board, and another organization, nonprofit organizations that I'm very close with the founder. And that, to me, you talk about relationships earlier, that's the whole thing, man. It's all there is.
It's key. It's also just sort of an analogy. I used to play tennis in high school, and always found that when I played against, for lack of a better word, the stronger opponents, the better opponents, really played up.
Of course, yeah.
And in my career and work, you know, I like to work around people.
Yeah.
You know, good on my own a bit, but I like to be there. And this is like you really, you know, each person has such a unique skill set that I get to learn from.
That's really cool, man. And that's great to be able to say that as a team member, you know, because and you use the word familial, and I love that. I love how you use that term. What do you do every day? What is it actually like? What the heck? Like 5 pillars, but like what the heck do you actually do?
What do you do every day? Every day is different. Yeah. So you know, so our job is we service clients. We bring clients in, and our clients are really across the board. The key thing at McBride is that we work with clients who we know and think we can bring value to, but flip side, we also want to make sure that those clients match our values.
What does that mean?
We want to make sure that we want to work with clients that we think are doing good companies as well as nonprofit organizations, but are doing good for the community in general. And we work across the board. We work in healthcare, we work in technology, we work in nonprofits. A lot of what we do, so folks say, what do you do every day? And every day is, yes, different. Listen, a lot of meetings, a lot of calls, but it's also really thinking, how do we maybe unstick a problem for somebody who's having a challenge in the grant space? It could be that they're, you know, a long time waiting on grant money to come in. How do we navigate those places? But it's also kind of thinking like, how do we connect the dots, right? How do we connect the dots in government? Politics. I almost look at it as we are, and for a lot of the client work we do, another sports analogy, I spent a lot of time listening to WFAN.
Yeah.
Another sports analogy.
You know Chris Vaccaro, right?
Yeah.
So Chris and I just met recently. He's going to probably come on the show.
Awesome.
That's Suffolk County Hall of Fame. You know?
Yeah. Sure. No, that's very cool.
Yeah.
So we're like almost the managers or the general managers of the team. And how do you? Yes, we have expert level folks, and we really dig in on those spaces, especially within transportation and healthcare. But how do we kind of like move? How do you move the pieces? Yeah. How do you move the pieces? And it all goes back and relates to our ability and our understanding and interaction with government, with elected officials, understanding where people come from, meeting them where they are. Yeah. Understanding what makes, you know, what interests them, what doesn't. And how do we build around for our clients for that?
This sounds like this is one of those scenarios where through your diagnostic approach, through your analysis when you're meeting with a prospective client, it's like, okay, let's get the information that's like, can we actually help?
Absolutely.
Right? It's not like, okay, let's get on the button. Wait.
Absolutely.
Do we have the resources? Do we have the connections? Do we have the relationships, expertise to work with this client? Is that fair?
Always. And we always do more listening than talking because we want to understand. We want to understand where a potential client, where the need is, where they may be stuck, where they may not be stuck, where they may be starting on something, whether it be related to, you know, community relations aspect, whether it be related to within the nonprofit space. You know, we've talked a lot about the Beagle Fund and Linda, and obviously what started out of a horrible tragedy has the ability to, and does, literally will change people's lives. And we have to make sure that anytime we're working in whatever space we're working in, we're keeping the mission of the client there, but that we're also taking our own understanding and viewpoint and bringing it to them so we can come to what makes sense to help move forward.
I want to ask you kind of just like, we're almost out of time. One quick question: when an event, when a topic or subject matter is political, does the firm's political views have to align with the client, or is it if you have the right relationships and you can add value there?
So our firm is unique in a lot of, frankly unique in a lot of ways, but it's also unique because we're a bipartisan firm.
Okay.
We're not a firm that's doing political campaigns,
right?
But we have the relationships across the board, and what you find, despite the maybe what folks look at as the national environment or the heated rhetoric around it, regardless of what side folks are on, most people are trying to do the right thing in this space, and it's not an easy place to be.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And most people are trying to do the right thing, so we really don't necessarily look at it from a liberal or conservative or a D or an R.
Right.
We have folks with all political persuasions, but we're coming together to say, what is our shared and joint expertise, and how can we, in a sophisticated yet direct manner, help our clients move forward. And we love to do that. And we do it here, we do it on Long Island, we do it in New York City, we do it in Albany, and we do it around the country.
I love that. What a thoughtful answer to that question, and because it's just like, do we have the resources? Do we have the value? Can we make an impact?
Yeah.
Is this appropriate? And then that's the thing.
And that's it.
Yeah. And on another conversation, I'd love to get into just what is going on in national, because it is a challenging world we're living in. But I'd love to know that there's folks like you and your team, professionals that are doing this work. We'll get you back on the show, man. That's how quick. When you're changing, when you're making change, it goes fast. That's just what it goes.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, man. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. All right, everybody, it's me again. This show is Long Island Changemakers. It's just an honor. It's really a blessing that I have so many cool people to hang out with. We'll probably only have to do this show for the next 50 or 60 years. We'll probably have to do about 10,000 episodes because I know a lot of cool people, and each week I meet even cooler people. That's just the way it is. Your boy, the one and only, the nonprofit sector connector. This has been another In Focus production. Make it a great day. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.